Hi everyone. Uh, as you can tell, probably it's just rain pretty heavily. So I'm just trying to actually make another video on my off day so that before I work during the next few days. And so I've been thinking a bit about the topic to actually make, and I actually don't want to really rush into a topic because it sometimes really depends on my what I remember, what are things, my notes and everything, and I want to make sure that my content can actually help those who are in need of help. And so today we'll be talking about a topic of the financial abuse. Uh, so financial abuse being committed by a narcissist, especially in and also in relation to the behavioral patterns of what I call the stealer, 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 as in the person who steals, the stealer narcissist. So, there isn't much material online or even in printed media about the phenomenon of financial abuse. If you just go and search on YouTube, the idea of financial abuse, it has very little content that's been created about it. So I think that it's actually very helpful, especially for those who are struggling with the abuse that they actually visit on you. Because a lot of us think that the abuse that is being visited on victims and targets of narcissists and even survivors is mostly in terms of physical, sexual, and also verbal and emotional abuse. But there's really very little about this financial abuse and also sometimes spiritual abuse. So, okay, what do I mean by the stealer narcissist? Okay, there are a few trademarks, certain behavioral patterns that I see to be very distinctive to the stealer narcissist, or what I call a thief, because they steal everything from you, and sometimes without, of course, without your permission as well. Uh, one of it is actually mooching of others, taking things from other people, because what I call the moocher, moocher, someone who sees that they have some form of extreme entitlement, so that makes them want to actually take from you, sometimes without permission. So the other thing is the current term called the hobosexual, hobo, being the North American slang word or colloquial expression for someone who's homeless. So hobosexual is basically someone who wants a roof over his or her head without actually needing to pay for it, and of course for them they don't have to work for that. So of course the hobosexual is just one variant of narcissistic behavior in terms of finances, and of course there is the element of financial abuse via the use of disability. Okay, disability is actually a very important factor in the case of financial abuse. So in the case of a narcissist, what they might do is to use their health or the lack of health. Sometimes the narcissist might be pretty old, or they have some medical condition, or if not, there could be social factors which prevent them from going to work or finding gainful employment. So they will actually use this particular reasons, factors to actually push you to support them, and if not, in some cases they might even manipulate you via feelings of guilt or love, like saying, like, if you love me, you will do this for me, you will actually support me financially in this, you give me this money. As you all tell, sometimes people do that. They claim, oh, you know what, if you really love me, or if you care for me as a friend, lover, family, you give me that money. If not, you don't really love me, you don't care for me. This is the tactic that a lot of narcissists or narcissistic people love to use, and I think that I have to admit that one point in time actually I fell for that. I mean, not via a date or romantic partner, but unfortunately through a narcissistic friend, and and then you probably won't see your money coming back anymore after that. They'll escape from you and try to avoid you and many other people whom they owe that money, and and they are homosexuals and moochers too. That's the thing. They borrow from everyone. So okay, the reverse of disability would be is also another example of financial abuse. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, if they can actually make uh, you support them based on their disability, they can also actually make you dependent on them if you have a disability or health issue. So in this case, they would, they could be this narcissist could be actually well-to-do or financially, they could be employed in a very good job, and what they actually do is to use any health issue or disability that you have to actually make you dependent on them. They stop you from going to work or claim that you cannot work so that they can control you. Okay, that's a form of financial abuse too. And of course, I mean, it's not, I mean, across the board, I wouldn't say that all narcissists fall into either one of this. In some cases, some narcissists will force you to work even if you are sick. Okay, so they will just probably do things like, saying, oh, I'm sick. Yeah, you're sick too, but so what? It's nothing compared to my disease or my illness. And, you should help me, and then everything, and give me the money. Show me the money. Okay, so this is how low down they can sink. So the one thing is that I think that when we talk about someone who's a moocher, moocher is someone who actually takes money from other people, and they're like a sponge basically. They sponge off other people. One aspect of this moocher dynamics would be that they're constantly borrowing money. Okay, you might probably have one or two friends or one or two contacts that you know of who are constantly borrowing money from someone, and they actually don't stop. They have all the excuses. They will say things like, oh, my parents. I mean, at least in my culture as an Asian, someone's Asian. At a certain age, up to maybe your 20s or 19 years old, that's the kind of expectations that some parents would help provide for their children until at least they find a job, and it's, I mean, of course, I don't always agree with that, but I think it's a good, it's just a part of our culture. So the constant borrower or moocher, he takes money from other people, including acquaintances, and then he does the disappearing act. So this they don't have any guilt when it comes to doing that. So I used to have one such friend. I wouldn't even call him a friend, but he borrowed money from countless people. I think up to even about 500, 500 from one girl who wasn't even his girlfriend, and it has been his old people about at least a few thousands. And I remember that some of my friends were telling me that because he owes me a few hundreds too, but he just disappears after borrowing from them. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing with that money, what he was doing. I had a joke that he probably was using it on hookers or like wasting it on his own trivial pursuits. But I mean, the joke aside, the disappearing act was the favorite thing that he loved to do, and I'm pretty sure that he still does that. That when he has a job, he'll just refuse to pay anyone that he owes the money for, and yet he'll claim, oh, I work so hard for my money, but you owe so much to everyone else. What do you use that money that you have on? So it's a really ridiculous thing. I mean, I had one such friend, and what's his name, freaking Aaron. who goes by Aaron the Kid on Instagram. But I think he's disappeared because I think he was hounded by a lot of people, and even his father refused to pay for him. His father refuses to actually clean up his mess. And so now he's I have no idea how he is now. Like now that come think about it, probably around, he's in his early 20s, but I don't think he has changed. So you want to actually avoid such people. But there's one thing about this the moochers that I find really really common to all of them, regardless of whatever they use to actually um, kind of like rip you of your money and to abuse you financially. The one thing is that blatant hypocrisy. It's like on the one hand, they claim that you owe it to them to give them what they are unable to pay back. It's just how ridiculous they are. They say, oh, I can't pay for that thing. I need to get this thing. You owe me the money to actually give it to me so that I can use it. Because you claim that you care for me or my friend or whatever, or my partner or my family. But on the other hand, they actually waste away that money that you give them on inconsequential pursuits. Sometimes such as buying branded goods, wasting on a holiday. Yeah, they do that, and buying cigarettes. So and then or even finding hookers and partying. So I mean the one thing we can call these moochers are actually we can call them the fraudulent scammers. Like how we encounter when we encounter a scammer online, or even on the phone or on social media. One thing about them is that they always claim, on the first few occasions after they've gotten to know you, they claim an emergency or say, oh, I have something on, I'm being held at the customs, some member in my family has cancer. And it's always after the first few occasions after they've gotten to know who you are. And then they claim that you need to actually lend money to them so that they can use it to either save themselves or their family member or their loved ones. But moochers are pretty much like scammers. And the one thing is that if you are unable to give them the money, they will normally actually abuse you, not necessarily physically, but emotionally. And what they do is to stonewall you, keeping silent, ignoring you, gaslighting you, and claiming you're the bad person. They're no different from scammers. Because last time I had one scammer that initially I thought, oh, just maybe there is some difference, but he claimed that he was helping his sister to actually manage some investments. My alarm bells started ring, and I was like, okay, which person on social media, regardless of whatever, will talk to me about the first few occasions about investment. And he was asking me to go and serve that website. Nope, I wasn't doing it. And when I refused, to the next moment, I think the next day in the morning, he just messaged me very insulting, get something in Chinese. There are a lot of Chinese scammers, but that made the race aside. But he said, get lost in Chinese. But I said, you know what? There's a kind of rhyme, like get lost means 滚蛋 in Chinese. But I said something. I said something to him back in Chinese. That the one who actually tries to force people to do what they don't want to do is actually rascal or bastard. In Chinese that would be 混蛋. So 混蛋 rhymes with 滚蛋. I did that, and then before I blocked him. So they do that all the time. They are basically, a moocher is a scammer. And the one other thing that I think moochers do is to actually give you false hopes. Much like scammers, they claim that they will make it big. They will use that money to buy something back. They will pay you back eventually. But at the end they abscond. They run away with that money. In some cases, I heard of different things, such as like they actually get you into legal trouble. They use your name. They get you to pay a deposit or sign off something that is legal, and then at the end of that whole thing, they the person who has become the guarantor ends up realizing that he or she has become has been embroiled in legal trouble and financial trouble because of what the person did, and then running away with the money and that whole contract, refusing to pay. I mean that the whole thing about mooches is that they are really too good to be true, and much like scams, they always tell us, if a scam is too good to be true, don't believe it because it's not true. Okay, and it's the same thing with mooches. They make all those promises, and if it's too good to be true, it really is too good to be true. Okay, the one thing that I think is also another trademark of moochers, people who, I think moochers are basically narcissist or narcissistic at least. The thing is that they actually try to, they try to attempt to trick or bypass the conventional system of making money. Our world is basically very conventional in the sense that, when you put your effort out there, you expect to get back your dues or your money in terms of some remuneration, some form of money, and like let's say you get like $9 or $10 per hour, or sometimes more, like maybe $20 something or 30 something, depending on your job, for working there. Okay, and depending on what kind of job it is, of course some jobs pay more, but at least that is actually conventional and I would say mostly honest way of making a living, unless there are other things such as sex and sleaze involved. But the one thing is that I think for narcissistic moochers, they don't want to do that. They don't want to actually do decent work. They do not want to engage in decent and conventional work. So I really believe that a lot of those kinds of people would be found on avenues such as adult entertainment, and of course the most common one right now is like OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a very common platform, like on social media, where people pay to see pornography acts, and it's, I don't want to judge people who access that, but but if you will look at the thing from the perspective, from the point of view of those who actually create the content on OnlyFans, why would they actually do that full time? They can make money, but of course they don't make as much probably by doing a decent job, but at least your self-esteem and your social reputation, and even sometimes your you don't get into legal trouble as well. But they choose to do that because for them it's the easy way out, regardless of your how you say regardless of your social your social background or your educational background. So here in Singapore, there's probably you all probably heard the news about this man, was it Titus, not man, a boy who was arrested at 22 for his OnlyFans account, because it's actually it's illegal to produce pornography and to circulate it here. Assessing it is one different thing. It's not normally persecuted or prosecuted, but I think that Titus was actually I knew him personally, but even then I didn't want to actually comment until the whole the legal situation was very clear. But I do believe that he has some personality disorder too, if not narcissistic personality disorder, at least probably histrionic personality disorder, because he doesn't want to do a decent job, and he refuses to actually. He's hitting the news headline once every month, and at least once every month, often for the wrong reasons. The last one was about him getting a girl pregnant at 21 who's an influencer, but social media influencer. But I don't think it's for real. But that aside, about him. But to go back to my point, I think that the moocher, the narcissistic moocher is someone who doesn't want to actually work properly. So what they would do would be to take up jobs which circumvent or go around that, bypass that traditional system of hard work for money, and they do things like OnlyFans precisely because of that. And of course, I don't want to talk about OnlyFans alone as a sign of narcissism. I mean, I do believe that a lot of the content creators probably have some, mental disorder or some psychological issues uh, to want to engage in such, degrading work. Uh, but of course, I mean, that aside, since I mean, this is a question of whether pornography should be legal or not. The other issue of how people will actually, like, who are narcissists, will actually try to hinder or perform, sorry, not hinder but perform financial abuse, would be to hinder the financial independence of the victims. It's a very common thing. So what they do is to, they actually limit the finances of other people, or they actually, if they do not limit the finances of other people, they actually limit the ability, or the sense of empowerment in these victims to actually make money. Okay. Why do they do that? They actually, do that because if they can stop you from making money, they actually make you either dependent on them, or they can remove your sense of power and empowerment. In a way, it actually gives them some form of control and power over you as the victim. So you have some forms of this, such as parents, or parents, or even loved ones who try to sabotage their family members or their loved ones by making them so tired, such that they go to work really tired, and this affects obviously their performance at work, causing them to lose their jobs. In some of the worst cases, they actually go and stalk their victims at the workplace to actually stop them from staying on in the job. And because I mean, sometimes in some cases, if the boss is not narcissistic, but the boss had enough of all this behavior and all these shenanigans, he or she might just fire the victim, because you know what, I don't want my office to have any toxic culture of stalking and harassment. I find it very ridiculous, but I have to admit that sometimes when I think about what I went through with one of the former narcissists in my life, it was actually an ex. I'm not sure whether it was intentionally orchestrated, or whether that particular person who was linked to the ex, whether he was really doing just unintentionally. But this was 2 years after the discard. He suddenly messaged me and sent me a lot, trying to talk to me and strike up conversation. It's like, I mean, I barely even talk with you, so why are you talking to me? In the back of my head was thinking then. But all of a sudden, the conversation just suddenly went back to the ex and saying, oh, you still remember the common friend that we have, who was with whom we went out, whom we talked about, who was actually talking with and getting out with your ex. I just told that particular acquaintance, can I not hear about whoever you're talking about? And the moment I said no, he actually said okay, and the conversation just became totally quiet. So I had a sense that at that point in time, it wasn't healthy to actually tell him anything about my work, because I had just left the fitness industry. I wasn't working in it anymore after 6 months or so. I think it was a good thing, because I couldn't afford to be stalked. And my new workplace. And I mean, although I don't really work there anymore and I've gone to other jobs, the fact was that it didn't seem that pleasant or sound as a prospect for me to let them know where my workplace was, and I'm actually very thankful for that. So that was one thing. Okay, and of course, I wanted to mention something else that is possibly another part of financial abuse. I think that the one other thing about financial abuse that ensues from it is actually the energetic depletion. Okay, when I say energetic depletion, I don't mean some new hodgepodge new age thing about someone sucking the energy out of you like some succubus or incubus or energy vampire or whatever, in the science fiction movies. But I actually referring to their attempts to make you do things, like go through certain things like losing your sleep. Some narcissists do that. They can actually hinder you and make your day, make you so tired that the next day you simply cannot sleep. You cannot really rest well, and when you go to work next, because you are so tired, you actually end up like either performing so badly, or you do things which are not exactly like you. And I remember that no matter how tired I was, I wouldn't do things like almost doze off halfway through the work that I do. But unfortunately, I think it was one of the first few, the red flags or the warning signs that I should have taken heed of. I didn't really take heed of that, and I actually thought that it was just a case of me offloading my issues on other people when I was at work. Yeah, I mean, just to cut the whole chase about what the situation was. That was actually one of the first few times when I met that one of the former narcissists in my life, who was an ex. I remember that the day after, when I went back to do my work, I was so tired. Then I was so really tired to the point that halfway through talking to the student whom I was actually teaching, I was just I remember talking and asking, when is your exam actually coming? I need to know why. I mean, I can't say that I did the wrong thing, because I wanted to know, and it was actually for both our good, not just for the teacher but also for the student. But what happened was that right after that, I remember that a lot of times I was like almost so tired that I could doze off right in the middle of that that lesson. Because of that, I think I lost after that session when I was so tired. I lost that particular teaching assignment. The next day, the parents actually, the mother or just messaged me and say, oh, we'll stop that session, although the student was possibly a few months away from taking her examinations to qualify for pre-university or high school. But the whole thing about narcissists is that they really deplete your energy so that it affects your performance at work. So so I think that that's probably it for now regarding the topic of financial abuse. But before I end, I just want to say that the thing about financial abuse, why do I talk so much about it now in this video, is because your money. A lot of us think, we don't think that much of money when we spend it, and or even if we do, we kind of forget that there's a certain energetic or social value of transaction that is attached to money. So but we need to remember that the money we have, it represents in a way our power. It is really our power. So I think most people will report that actually at the end of the narcissistic relationship, a lot of them end up being so depleted that they lose all their money, and they actually end up some of them even incur a lot of debt. Like maybe the debt could be thousands and thousands, or even millions of dollars that they have to repay for many years of their life. So that wasn't a good experience for me personally, just having lost my savings back when I was in the narcissistic relationship, and before I was just at the point when I was discarded. But whether they really intentionally caused it, or whether it was just a byproduct of their energy vampirism, regardless of what caused it, the fact is that we need to safeguard the value that we have in money. So if that actually makes sense, we should never let a narcissist or anyone else know how much there is in our savings, unless the person is like a financial planner who is helping us to plan our investments. Of course, we need to be careful about that as well. But let's say that if you come across a certain amount of money, such as like in my case, I got my the retirement funds or the taxes back when after coming back from Japan. That was many years ago. I remember that at that time, I had the extra money. I could possibly use it on stuff, but that particular one narcissistic ex-friend, yeah, a really former friend, kept on harassing me non-stop to lend him money. They know when you come across certain windfall or a sum of money. So I think that if we can safeguard our heart from narcissists and from their manipulation, I think we ought to also learn to safeguard our money. I'm not asking to hold your money, say, oh, don't even spend it. It's not logical and doesn't make sense, because money is after all a form of social transaction, and we need to use it to help ourselves, fulfill what really is best for us, like to travel, to buy food. You have to buy food and to buy things for us and our loved ones. But I don't think that we should really just take money that lightly, and we should learn to guard it. Yeah, we should guard it in the sense that we spend it on those who really matter, and primarily ourselves, and also on those who do not want to use it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. So I don't. That's why now I don't really like borrow or lend money. I don't lend money to anyone, because I know that if I lend them money, I don't just lose the money, I lose the friendship too. And even giving money to someone is dangerous unless you know that the person is going to be thankful to you for that and will pay you back in some ways, if not physically or in terms of money, but at least in some other ways, like helping you with something else. That wasn't what that particular moocher did. He leached hundreds and hundreds from all us friends. He had no word of thanks. His thanks was a fake sense of entitlement. Like, I deserve all that because I don't have enough from my father. No, you do have enough, or even if it's not enough, you can work for it. But he expected all of us to clean out his mess for him. So no, don't become someone's enabler by actually giving them money. Okay, if you give them money, ask yourself, am I enabling their nonsense, their abuse of me or other people? Ask yourself honestly this question, because if you are doing so, if the question is the answer is yes, then not only should you not actually lend the person money, you might want to actually consider cutting him or her off permanently. Yes, even if it's family, because